Well, that didn't help. What the hell? I'm now live. It's alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. Where's my coffee? Well, today is the day that I have got to essentially 90% finish putting up the show downstairs. The gallery director arrives back today at some point, and she better not see the gallery as messy as it is right now. So that's my deal. I've got three big folding tables unfolded, and a cart, and tools, and a paper cutter, and boxes that I'm going to bring up here. I'm toying with the idea of deleting one of the sections, but maybe what I'll do is photograph it first before I delete it. These are, unfortunately, I didn't think I had enough work, and I ended up having enough work. And I have probably too much work. So I'm going to remove the few drawings that I think were done by people from Minneapolis and people from Philadelphia. A person from Philadelphia sent me things when I asked, and 3 people from Minneapolis sent me things when I asked them. And I think what I'm going to do, maybe I can reduce it to a smaller sampling. Maybe that's what I'll do. It's just, it ended up being just a little wider than I had hoped. And I think I can make it smaller. So that's what I'll do. I'll do that. Or not. I don't know what I'm doing. I had crazy dreams last night about my father. And this show, I've been sort of, when I'm hanging, I've been, in my brain, I've been thinking about my father, and I've been sort of thinking I'm dedicating this show to him in my mind. Because part of what I've been doing in the past couple of years, since before he died, but I've been trying to imitate his abilities to draw so well and do art so well in so many different media. And I tend to be afraid of doing that, and I shouldn't. I can fail with, I can burst into flames and crash over the humanity next to the mooring mast, and it'll be fine. There's nothing wrong with failure. If you don't try it, you'd never know that you were not talented enough to figure it out. No, even in failure, of course, you learn things. even if it's just I never ever want to paint again. But so with Urban Sketchers, what I do is I often will grab some paper and some materials that I don't normally use, and I'll try them out. And sometimes they actually succeed, or I'll discover a way to make them work. A case in point is a set of Arteza brush pens was given to me by a friend's mother when I was at her house. I ended up drawing using the pens that she has provided for her grandkids when they visit, and she had paper and sketchbook paper for me to play with, which I did, and I really liked the pens that I was using, and she made a gift of them to me, and I promptly put them away and sort of forgot about them for a couple of months. And I don't know if it was that I was using colors that her grandkids didn't use, but when I reopened them to use them on this thing I was going to work on, they were really, really dry. And I don't think it was because I stored them improperly. I think the colors that I was using at her house were not as popular with her grandkids as the ones that I ended up bringing with me. So the pens were very dry, and I thought, oh shit. But then almost immediately, I saw the line they made when they were dry. They had as you could imagine, a dry brush feel to it. It was almost like I was using charcoal. And so I drew 3 or 4, 8 or 9, I can't remember. I did about 9, I guess, drawings using these markers that were running out of ink. And I really, really liked it. Now, you turn a problem into a what does my friend here in the building say? Opportunity. I don't know how he sees the world, but I want the drugs he's on, because he looks at everything can be seen better through his eyeballs. And rather than accepting defeat and seeing it as a problem where you don't even do anything, he'll say, okay, well, if I had to solve this, if I had to deal with this situation, how could we make it work? And the situations are never as grim as Captain Bligh's lifeboat with 8 people on board and a cup of water and half a biscuit, and he sailed halfway around the world to safety. Nothing like that. My pen was running out of ink. Okay, what do? You draw a smaller drawing, turn it into an opportunity. Anyway, so I have lots and lots of art supplies. That's the word I want in my house. I've got lots of paper. I have lots of sketchbooks. I have, I think I'm a sketchbook hoarder. Anytime I would go to Marshall's, I would go to their home goods aisle, and sometimes they would have these plain page diary kind of books. And sometimes the paper was good, sometimes it wasn't very good, but it was always something that I needed to buy. So I bought them, and I have dozens. I probably have 100 empty sketchbooks of books of different types, and I'm finally using them rather than just grabbing sheets of paper. I'm taking the books out and using them and trying different tools. And I've got oil paint sticks and Cray-Paw, and there has to be something that I can do with these things. I haven't used Cray-Paws since college, 35 years ago or something like that. And I feel that there's room for me to try that out again. And maybe I'll really, really like it. So, and my father, back to my dad, he made art for fun. He never, ever, rarely ever thought or needed to make art to sell to make money. He made art to spend money. He bought lots of sketchbooks, rarely finished them, but he loved drawing as well. And he made jewelry, and he bought bead after bead after bead and strung some of them, and some of them he didn't string. And so we've got lots of beads in his house, which is now our house, with lots of beads. And I'm trying to do something. I did something to honor him by taking many of his unfinished necklaces, and I am wrapping them around a globe, which I hope we can keep at the lake home, bring it back to Minnesota, and it'll be put on a pedestal and ignored or looked at or something. I don't know what. But my father also did things like he took a ceramics class, and he could not figure out how to make the wheel work. So he never made a vase out of that was symmetrical on all sides. He created cylinders and tray-like things, bowl-like things, using just slabs of clay. And I think part of what he was doing was he just wanted to play with the glazes. He was making these little paintings out of clay, and but they were a lot of fun, and he made a lot of them, and to the point where my mother would say, "Wells, no, do not bring another vase in the house," because they were everywhere. And they are everywhere. And but so too are my Christmas wreaths that I make out of zigzag carpenter rulers and HO train track and stuff. I make lots of stuff out of other things too, and I have lots of supplies. So where am I going with this diatribe, this long thing? It has to do with this show, and part of the joy of me in going out to Urban Sketchers is, again, to try something new. And I'm trying watercolor, and I'm trying ink wash, and I'm trying to draw people, and I'm trying to figure out what can I do with this funny looking sketchbook. and I show the mistakes as well as the things that turned out well. I don't have to. They don't all have to succeed. But there's a germ of an idea that um, might work. Now, you know that I have to do laundry when you see this shirt. This was a gift that I've never worn, but I have to do laundry, and I don't have time to do it. So I'm wearing a big kitty on my shirt, and people are going to look at me and they're going to say, "Pierre, is that you? It looks like you. It looks like the guy that I talked to yesterday, but you must be a changeling." And I'm overheating. This is hot. I don't know why. Why is it hot? Is it made of some sort of heat resistant cotton? It's actually very thick cotton. So I'll overheat. So I've been hearting my little, oh, is that it? Where is it? Yeah, I like that pen too. This is a Moore pen that has lots of problems. Not only because it's a Moore, that's its first problem. It was made by a company that really should have been making something else other than pens. They should be made. What was made to last? They should have been making calendars, something that would last a year or something. The plastics they had. This pen has been used very well. It has a lot of age on it, and it's had a number of trauma that occurred in its life by its original owner, H. It'd be nice if I wasn't as blind as I am here. PLS, I think it says. This is not what I was looking for. I was looking for this pen right next door to it. This one. This is the Sheaffer Greg shorthand pen that I bought from Rick Krause. Rick, what? I can't even think of my name. His name, Rick Krause, I think. And he has a parts or pen blowout sales that he posts on Facebook, and this had a lot of corrosion on its clip. It was verdigris and just it looked really nasty. But they sometimes have nice nibs, and the nib was fine. So I thought, well, what the heck? I don't care about the clip. And I put a sack in it, and it's as lovely a pen as you could ever want. It has the little Greg enameled logo on the end. It says Greg, if it was not out of focus. Red, white, and blue logo, and this was made for the Greg Shorthand Company. And I really, there's just something very elegant about it. It's almost like writing with a pencil because it's very long and thin and very lightweight. So there's something about it that makes me smile. And I will use up the ink and eventually see if I have another pen just like it, which I'm sure I do, in which case I can sell that one or keep it, and I'll make earrings. Wouldn't that be nice? An earring here that would dangle down, and an earring on the other side that would dangle down, and all I need to do is, one would have red ink, one would have black, and I would unscrew the right ear to get the black ink or whatever. Actually, I could use ladies' pens. I could use Parker ladies' pens because they'd be a little shorter. They wouldn't hit my shoulders. One could be red and one could be green, like the port and starboard lights, running lights of an ocean liner or any sort of boat. How about that? People could see which direction I was going in the dark. No, they need light. Anyway. My house is a mess. Absolute mess. And my job, once I get the show hung today, is I have to come up with the words that will describe the show and print them out, and they will go in certain sections of the gallery. And then I have to figure out who did what drawings, because I'm not having labels for each drawing. Because there's too many. I'm just having initials. I'm having little tiny peel off labels that will have little numbers on them or initials on them. So AH is Adam Lavelle, PG is Per Gustafson, GM is Gustavo Mann, etc. And I think that's all I need. There's an index with that. I almost don't want to do any because I think the idea of us as a group is interesting rather than individuals. We're just this mass of sketchers. But I think some people will clearly recognize who did what drawings, because some people are very recognizable in how they draw. At least I think so, because I've been hanging the show, so I know, oh, this is obviously a XYZ. Sometimes I can be a little surprised, though, so I think there are a few people that draw differently. Some people are relatively consistent in how they draw in the medium that they choose. And other people sort of try completely different kinds of things. Or different kinds of things. I don't want to say completely different. But it's so most of them would be recognizable. If you saw two by one person, you should be able to see a third by that person without having a label. But there's some people, I'm one of them, who I don't think, because I use the iPad and I use black and white and I use color and I use dried up pencils, pens that aren't dried up, ink wash. I use a bunch of different kinds of things. I think the only thing that I do that is that you could say, gee, this looks like Pier's piece because it's blank. And the blank is because it's not finished, or it's messy, or it's a sketch. I I I treat these as sketches. I don't treat them as renderings. I have to do that kind of work for money, and it's work that's very detail oriented, and I have to use rulers to make a straight line, and I have to, if I'm making something that's symmetrical, I have to make sure that it's exactly the same on both sides of the middle. And when I'm sketching, whether I'm sketching at Urban Sketchers or whether I'm sketching as planning out something that I want to make, I sketch. I'm sloppy. I'm messy. When I get the thing I want to get across on paper, I turn the page and I do a new sketch. I look a different direction. I don't tend to, after I get to the point that I need, I don't continue to refine it. I guess my drawings are sketchier than other people's drawings are. So that's, and I think that's probably true of almost every single drawing I did in that show. They all look like they were done quickly because they were. So that's the common thread for me. But there are other people who have included drawings that they did quickly, I think. Maybe they arrived late. They didn't have time to do it as much as they might have wanted to. A lot of what Urban Sketchers do as well, I've noticed as I've put up this show, there are a lot of people that are watercolorists. And oftentimes they will do the drawing with waterproof ink, and then they'll go home later and they will add the color. And sometimes I see the before picture, before the color is added. I tend to like the before picture better, not only because it's my colors, I like black and white, but it's because oftentimes when you're not in front of, I don't want to say this about the people that are in the show, this is my own issue. Oftentimes when I'm using color and I'm not seeing the colors in front of me, the actual colors in front of me, I tend to exaggerate the colors, and they're not as subtle as maybe they might be if I was looking at the thing. If I'm just adding the color from my memory, the roof was red, the walls were brown, the trim was yellow, I might not mix exactly the right color. I'll pick yellow rather than lemon yellow or Naples yellow or some other golden yellow color. I'll just pick yellow. So they end up looking more like a poster, which is, there's nothing wrong with posters, but they have a they become a little bit more graphic than realistic, where the drawing is more realistic maybe than the coloring is. Now this isn't always true, but but it is what happens with me when I can't see the actual colors. My cat is missing his boyfriend, meaning my 3/4 roommate, who treats Tina like a dog. And this cat loves being a dog, loves chasing things, loves playing games, loves scratching and biting. The cat doesn't scratch or bite me because I don't play those beasts of the Serengeti games. I'm the refined what did they call them? Nannies teaching the rich kid Latin when the rich kid really wants to play with the chauffeur and smoke behind the garden folly with the chauffeur and do bad things. Of course the cat wants to do that rather than to learn Latin. Okay, kitty, try it again. No, the cat, I try to do the cat likes being a cat, but the cat prefers being a dog. So every morning the cat just pines. She knows that Matt is going to come through the door at some point for shower and a cup of tea. And a game of catch. I'm going to get more coffee and yam around for a minute. Who's watching me here? I see the number going from 1 to 2 back to 1 to other numbers. Come on, Pierce, stand up. Oh, this is going to be a bad day. Kitty. Yeah, I know. Where is he? I know. Where could he be? I know. I know. Eat your food. Oh. Brew a cup of tea. Hello, Will. Okay. I have been finding more boxes in the recycle, which means, of course, more fish. Where's Mighty Mouse? Mighty Mouse loves when I draw fish. But anyway, today, what am I doing? turn this over. Today I'm going to do the coronavirus column. And I was going to have it do that, but I'm not going to have it do that. I'm going to have it do this. I'm going to have the column be vertically displayed, because it makes more sense to be vertical. So we've got walks. So target, orange, Blodgett. Route 66. On one side. And over here we have, what else do we do? We have the museum, Pauline. We have holiday, Thanksgiving. We have green, shadows, Cape Cod, cars, doors, mask, oh, you missed my ramblings. So how's that Eversharp skyline, right? Is that what you got? How just tell me how different a flexibility that has. It seemed to me there was a nice bouncy feel to it. Was it bouncy enough for you? Well, how is the skyline flexible enough? I got a new hat in the mail. 2 new hats in the mail. Shall I wear them for you? and Commander. Well, yeah, it's not. It's a nib that I think you can write aggressively with. You can sort of push it and pull it and yank it and stab the paper with it without harming it. A real delicate, flexible nib would sputter and break or scratch the paper or something. But that one, it's a real rubbery feel, and I think its nib will provide enough flexibility to make the writing interesting to look at, but it's not so flexible that you'll feel you have to be calligraphic with it. You know, it's not a Ferrari, but it's not a station wagon. It has a little tiny bit of sexiness to it, and you'll feel a little, it's like a Mustang, the original Mustangs. You know, they were not Ferraris, but they were sort of sporty. And I think you'll feel, it's like, I think if you had a Mustang, you might have felt 10 years younger or 5 years younger than you actually were. Because it was kind of a sports car. But it wasn't a high performance sports car. You didn't have to wear goggles, but you could wear sunglasses with the top down. Oh, Wu-Tang. So my other hat is this one, the one with the tassel. And this has all sorts of bling. It has I'm a past deputy regional director, and I've got a big old hand, the curly Q lifeline. I've got a bedazzled, bejeweled camel. I have a cross of gold and some other color. And I don't know what this particular kind of castle, what sort of fez company this was. But anyway, they're new fezzes to go with my old fezzes. I have lots of fezzes. Okay. Shortly, did I have my pills today? Did I consume them? I did. I have to have one of these. I don't have to have two of them. My father had to have two because he had so many pills. Hey, Frederick. I was just looking at your wood grain, buy it now desk pen. See, why is this still? Are you going to bid on that one? Right now it's $1 more than my high bid that I put for it. And I I made that bid like on day 1, and this is day 8. You're not gonna buy that? Why not? You're not gonna get it cheaper from me. I mean, I don't know what it's gonna sell for, but I'm assuming the Skyline must be worth $40 at least, if not more, depending on the nib it has. The nib looks pretty firm. Yeah, the nib looks this is a pen we're talking about, Will. There are 2 pens. Well, I know, but that one pen I think is worth a heck of a lot more than what the price is now at. I haven't decided what I'm going to sell mine for. $80 maybe I'd sell it. I don't know. I think they're relatively rare pens, those Envoys, I think they were called. And they're really, really neat. You know, this nib, the nib on the Skyline is very, well, I think, yeah, you don't have to buy it from me. Yeah, but yeah, bid on it. If you can win it, do it. I don't need a 4th one. But the reason I sent that to you, I thought maybe you might want to buy it. And I know that you would make use of the Skyline, even if it's just to sell the Skyline to help pay for the other pens. So I'm curious. So please bid on it. Have you ever done any metal work at all? Kalani V. Any metal work? I've never done any metal work, but I can sometimes straighten out nibs that are bent or broken, but that's not what you want. I think a nib smith is someone who either makes nibs from scratch or takes an existing brand new nib and tweaks it to become slightly different kinds of nibs than the one that came from the factory. No, you're not gonna. You won't fight over the pen. By all means, if you want the pen, bid on it there. You'll get. You might. Someone might not even know that Envoy is there, because they'll look at the Skyline and they'll ignore it because it's a Skyline or whatever. So you might get it cheaper than you would get it from me. If the Skyline had what would be clear to me a flexible, rubbery, fun nib, I would continue to bid on it. But the nib is very unfun looking to me. I bought a Eversharp desk pen thinking, and I could see that the nib was, well, no, I couldn't see. I thought in my rose-colored glasses that the nib would be slightly flexible, and it was just awful. It just didn't want to do a damn thing. And I hated the pen, absolutely hated the pen. And I finally, I tried to like it. It's I made 3 videos about it. I called it the Jack Webb pen because it was just factoid driven. It never wrote an emotion in its entire life. It only recorded facts. And that's all it was good for. The height of Mount Kilimanjaro is so many feet. And, but what I did was, I really liked the pen, the holder, the desk pen. So I put a nib in it that I thought was the one I was going to get. So I swapped the nib, and the nib, when I put the desk pen nib in a Skyline, it wrote better. I don't think there was a scintilla of difference between how it wrote, but in my mind it wrote better. Maybe because I hadn't had a fantasy of what it was going to write like. Kalani, are you still in the room or did you leave? Because my question was too my answer wasn't. And the idea that you want to be a professional means you want to be good enough to be paid for it. Which means, first, you're going to have to spend a lot of money of your very own to learn how to do it well enough to be paid to do it. There, on Instagram, I'm people see the drawings I do of unclothed figures, and some people will say, I really, really love your drawings. Would you like to hire me to pose for you? And I look at their Instagram pictures, and they're not hot. They look better with clothes on. Their poses are really boring. No, I did not buy that wall. Did it sell? I don't even know. I remember seeing that before from you, or we talked about it before, and it's a freaking rare pen, but I did not buy it. I think it's rare. $250. Oh, well, it's cheaper than 900 or whatever the other guy was trying to sell it for. I think it's really, really neat. If I had that amount of money, it's a number 4 too. Fuck. That's pretty sexy. If I had $250, I might buy it. It's really, really nice. I don't know what. I don't quite understand how it would have, how the cap would have fit to some sort of, the cap is fluted like a socket, and it had some sort of something on it. Some sort of, I don't think it's a clip, but it had some sort of thing that it attached to. Maybe it was It's really, really neat, though. God, that nib looks really beautiful, too. God, do I want to buy it? I don't think I have that amount of money. Fuck. It's really, really nice. Does it say for or best offer? Best offer. $175. No, it's too much. I can't afford it. $155. Review offer. We'll see what happens. Submit offer. Well, I don't, because it doesn't, it's not a screw cap, so it wasn't made to actually screw onto the pen like a Parker dual fold, one of those desk bases that it had where the cap would fit into a hole that the cap fit into, like the Waterman desk pens that had the sphere of rubber. Yeah, well, I put an offer of $155. See if it flies. It looks like it might have a really nice nib. So a pen that has a really nice nib on it, in my brain, is worth $100. I don't care what it what it looks like. And it's a biggish nib. Did we lose our nib smith? Okay. So if he or she is Kalani is still listening to me. Yeah, I'm thinking that too. It might have been like those Parker Vacuumatic sort of things that would hold it rigid or something. I don't know. Yeah, a wall 4. I mean, you and I know that a 4 isn't any better than a 2. If the number only went to 2, if it never went to 11, there's no reason why a pens had to be any bigger than a 2. Uh-oh. So are you bidding on that pen now? I see that it went up. Here's another lot of pens I was bidding on, and I bid up to $41 on it, and there's those pens are all shitty. I would take all of those pens and I would take them apart and yank out their J bars, if they had any that still worked. Put them in my J bar drawer and throw the rest away. Then, but it's this one at the bottom, the Waterman without the cap, that I was bidding on, but no one is bettered my bid. And it's an emblem pen, a Waterman emblem pen, but it's big, and it's the ribbed 100-year pen. 2 hours left. Are you bidding on that one? Oh, the levers. I don't need the levers. The lever on the shitty pen rarely fits anything other than a shitty pen. Is it warped? The nib looks really nice though. Is it warped? I can't tell. It's not broken. The thing is, it's not broken, and it's ribbed all the way down. Is it warped though? Did they say it's warped? The thicker one's tip is marked Waterman's in Canada. A small crack in the plastic of this one. Oh, never mind. That nib is still pretty. The nib is still pretty sweet. The nib is certainly worth what my bid is. It's a big fucking nib. I have a feeling that that's going to probably go for $85 or so without me bidding on it again. Two hours. I'm just going to see what happens when I bid. Increase bid. I'm now the highest bidder. $46.89. So someone bid $46.88, evidently. I know the nib is worth more than what I just bid, but I'm just seeing what happens. I'm not one of these people who, like Mitch, will bid at the last minute. I don't have time for that. So, like, for example, the pen that you're now bidding on, this double pen that you're bidding on, I put that bid, whatever it was, on the first day I saw it. And it went almost up to that. I was almost overbid immediately on that one, right at the beginning. I just don't, the people that inch them up by a nickel a time, like I'll see a Rob Morrison pen, a Sterling Overlay Waterman from 1902 or something, and I'll see that it's been up for a day and it has a bid of $8. Well, type, neck, print, enter, whatever it is. And I'll bid $100 on it or something. I know it's going to go for that much. So let's just get the ball rolling. Let's not this little baby shit. Let's get the cheapskates. We can just get out of the running right away. They can play in the shallow end of the pool. Don't bother me. Yeah, we all love to get a bargain, but I don't have time to do things at the last minute because, okay, I just got a notification, outbid. The other thing I was outbid on is 15 hours. It's a, what kind of nib does this have? This is this pen, the Coral, without a clip. It looks like the threads have been also filed down a bit. This is the pen that the woman with the blue pen had. She had a pen like this, except the threads also look like they were filed down. It was one of those with the metal section. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Did they put the metal thing there? A little light bulb went off in my head just now. Is it because of the unscrewing, changing the, what do you call it, nibs on those select-a-point or whatever they call those things, personal points? Did that keep the section from twisting? Was that the reason? Well, this wall, I love these long, slender pens. The nib looks like it's okay. It's a typical flexible wall, but the nib seems a little broad. Well, of course, I didn't realize, I thought, well, why are they doing this? Because they only get wet and corrode and then they break. They don't do a damn thing. So I thought, well, why did they do it in the first place? And right now, I put two and two together and came up with a reason. But that's a pretty dumb reason. The pen repairman, pen dealer should know to hold on to the section when you're unscrewing a nib rather than the barrel. Anyway, that's a nice looking pen. I'll increase my bid on that. I'm now the highest bidder. Oh my God, $15 to send a pen? I shouldn't have bid what I bid. I added. Yeah, I've got lots of nibs. I mean, they're not sexy nibs, but I have lots of very, very unsexy nibs that can fit in pens like that to make them complete. They won't be fun to write with, but are you still here, Will Hodge? I realized he wanted to play this with me. Okay, good. Do you find that when you're wearing your skirt, did they get tight when you're using a sexy nib? When you see a yellow pen and you're wearing a skirt, do skirts get tight? Just easy access. Okay. Oh, I was a very late learner. Late. Okay, now I'm almost ready to go downstairs. Two chats. And continue my plight. The show, Friedrich, the show is an interesting show. I think many people would find it fascinating. People that are artists might find it fascinating. Maybe because there's a lot of people in the group that are they're not making art, they're just doing drawings, and maybe some artists will think, well, you're just drawing, you're not making profound art like I make profound art. I'm not interested in what you're doing because it's just too simple, which is unfortunate because that is not what we're doing. We're not trying to necessarily make art. We're just enjoying our drawing. But there are many artists in my building who are very successful artists, but they do not draw, and they cannot draw. And there's one guy that's a very, very good painter, and he cannot draw, he says. And there's another person that's a very successful artist, and she draws. When she draws, she's sort of a mark maker and doesn't draw things realistically, but makes beautiful, abstract, non-representational images that are all marks. And they're fascinated by anyone's ability to do anything that looks realistic. They say things like, I can't even draw stick figures. And these are artists that sell their artwork for a lot of money. They don't have to know how to draw. But what I find interesting about it is the things that we choose to draw, the view that we choose to take. And some people take the full frontal, sit in the middle of if there was a line that could come right out of the front door, that's where they sit and draw the building right from the middle. And there's other people that draw it right from the side. And there's some people that tackle it from an angle. Of course, you have to deal with 2-point perspective, which is asking a lot sometimes. But so I just find it interesting seeing I know I can sometimes tell, even if I don't have my glasses on and I make my eyes blurry, I can say, oh, that's a drawing that so-and-so did, because I recognize their traits. So it's interesting too. So anyway, I think people will find it interesting. I hope. In the Boston group, I think we might even have, I don't know how many members we have that are on the Facebook group, but these are people who maybe went to one of them and then got hit by a car and never, or left or moved or whatever they did. So, and you don't have to, you can join the group without having to make a single drawing, I think. But let me just see what it says here. Close, 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 close. How many times do I have? I thought I was supposed to get to something without having to. Are you sending me text? What's going on? I'm getting information, little dings from somewhere. Let me just find the Facebook group. I used to be able to go to groups really, really easily. Okay, how many members? 785 members in the Boston group. Now, those people are, I think, if you divided that number by 10, you might get the number of people that might conceivably be interested in attending a meetup. And half of them would never, decide against it. So we might have, at the moment, we might have 40 people that show up to at least one of them in a given year, but it's hard to tell because of last year's COVID thing. But at the last meetup we had, there were maybe 15 of us. And the one before that, there were maybe 10 of us. The number of people in the show, however, I went back and I contacted specific people that I haven't seen in years, asking them if they would be interested in showing something. And some of them said yes, and some of them said no. And so the show has more artists represented than are actually active in the group right now. Do you like to draw, Frederick? Well, you should find out if there is a local. I'm sure that there's a group in Chicago that meets regularly. Just go out with them. What's nice about it is you're surrounded by people who are learning, and there are people that are sort of loosey-goosey and they don't care, they're just having fun, and there's people that are uptight and very, very afraid of being loosey-goosey. And so but they love to draw, they want to learn. So I think it's a nice place to it's a nice community to be a part of. Why? Love your new. Why did it say CCC? Love your new drawings. I'm going to go downstairs now. I may turn on my iPad and broadcast from down there. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup work first, though, just in case my gallery director comes back. I don't want them to suddenly panic. So I'll see you later. Good luck on getting that pen. I think if you value this, if you put a number on the value of the Skyline, let's say you think it's worth $50, and just reduce that number from the total, and or add 50 to whatever you think that other pen is worth, and just put that bid in, you might win. I think most people that look at that thing, that pair, will only be buying the weirder one. They will not put any value on the Skyline. And not to say that there's anything wrong with Skylines. I just sold a Skyline to Will Hodge. Skylines are great. I have dozens of Skylines. It's just that nib isn't very sexy. But someone who wants a Skyline will buy it regardless of the nib. But the nib might have some value. Whatever you value it at, is it a $40 pen, a $20 pen, an $80 pen? Start with that number and then add whatever number you think that Envoy is worth, and add that up and plug it in and forget about it. You'll be notified in 8 hours whether you won or not, or 6 hours, or whatever it is. But if you just ignore a perfectly good pen, that has some value, then you will probably lose that bid. I mean, if there was a blue Esterbrook with a Waterman 58, I don't think that is going to change if you put whatever value the blue Esterbrook is with the 58. I don't think that will work in that particular instance. But in this case, I would have a feeling that the pie chart of the two pens, that Envoy is certainly 100 times rarer than a Skyline. Yeah, I know that you're democratic, but you are sophisticated. You probably would decide that Skyline pen is something you would not keep, you would sell. So you could figure out the retail value of that pen when you sell it, and start with that number, and then add whatever you want, and you might win it. But if you sell a pen and you have to repair it, and you put a price on that, and then you put a price on the hours it'll take you to sell that pen, retail, top gouge retail, then you have to adjust it. if I had to pay myself a wage to sell pens, if I had to pay myself minimum wage, I would be out of business in a minute because I take way too long to sell a pen. Especially these days when I, am selling a pen to someone that can't try it out. So I have to do have a lot of discussions with people about how they're going to write and how they write, and it takes forever, as you know, having witnessed it. So if my discussions with the guy from Canada or the guy from California or whatever, no, we can't afford. And which is why it's a hobby for us. We shouldn't have to make money. We don't want to lose money necessarily. But a way to get that pen, well, I just told you what to do. So you can do it or not. It'll be interesting to see what it sells for, because I think if there are two people in the world that want that Envoy, other than you and me, if someone really wants that pen, because it's really a neat pen, I think it has an audience of 6 maybe in the world, because they don't know it. It's not common enough. But it's not stupid like the Ventura burp pen is. God, what a dumb pen that was. It's just that Ventura pen, it's really top heavy. It's like they took if a $64, what's that pen? Fifth Avenue pen. If a Fifth Avenue pen went to, and a Parker 51 had a baby, that might be one of them. No, that's not even close. I don't even know what caused that, what love child that one came from, because it's just too, the barrel is too thin and the cap is too heavy. It's like all of the bad genetics of a, here's what it is. If a Fifth Avenue pen had some sort of perverse sex with a Schaefer Snorkel pencil, the Ventura would be its love child. It's too thin, too top heavy. It's just, you put the cap on the back and the pen wants to do a backflip. It's just dumb. Now, having completely trashed it, I do have a Sterling one where the cap is Sterling and the barrel is Sterling, and it's a cross ballpoint pen that grew up to be a fountain pen. It has stupid qualities to it, but at least it's sterling silver, so there's something about it that's nice. Okay, am I done? I finished my coffee. I asked this before, and you can text me if you want to answer privately. How is Parker doing? And you don't have to answer publicly here because I'm going to run off and I'll talk with you later. But send me a text. Bye. Bye, everyone.